Asmodeus is the second of the 3 Lycanite bosses, and can only be summoned after Rahovar is defeated. This boss can be particularly annoying because it can only be summoned in the end, and the Lycanite mobs in there can inflict quite a few debuffs, namely instability, which can make the boss fight quite a bit more difficult. Before you even think about fighting this boss, however, there are a few things that you'll need to do to be prepared. Firstly, you'll need the demonic hearts that drop from Rahovar, as they are the key ingredient in the Aberration Soul Cube. These bosses were created to be fought in order, so there's not really any getting around that. Once you've got those, the next item you'll need is the Aberration Soul Stone. This Soul Stone can either be obtained in Lycanite dungeons, or by fighting the Crimson Epion mini-boss, which shouldn't be too difficult considering you've probably already beat Rahovar and are pretty well equipped, but he still does quite a bit of magic damage and shouldn't necessarily be underestimated. Once you get all the items to craft the Soul Cube, all you'll need is 16 obsidian, 4 diamond blocks, and a soul key. You also need Aberrant Stone, but that's pretty easy to craft. Asmodeus is summoned in the end, so a flying mount or flight potion is pretty helpful considering you could just fall off the edge and lose everything. But aside from that, if you have a way to deal with the mobs, it's really not too bad. The Asmodeus altar is created just the same way as the Rahovar altar, by creating a 5-block pillar in the center with 4 blocks of obsidian and the soul cube in the middle, and 4 obsidian pillars on the edges with 3 blocks of obsidian and a diamond block on top. The altar should look something like this when you're finished with it, and the fight will start as soon as you use the soul key on the center soul cube. Once again, when you start, a giant arena will spawn around you, only this time it'll be a giant square with a bunch of pillars around the center. A giant green flame pillar will also spawn in the center while the boss spawns in, so make sure you don't run into that when the fight starts. When he spawns in, this boss will also have 3 phases, and his mechanics will change as soon as he hits each one. Lots of mobs will be spawning throughout this fight, so it's highly advised to be able to kill all of them, as well as keep your damage going on the boss. In every phase, this boss has a minigun that he'll fire at you that inflicts wither and does a lot of damage, and also will jump from one part of the arena to the other, seemingly if he can see you whenever he feels like it. The magic damage from his minigun is really high, so I would definitely advise staying away from it if you don't have the health to tank it, or if you just want to play it safe. On phase 1, the boss will summon Trites and alternate between his minigun and our giant ring of projectiles around him. At around 60 to 70% HP, this boss will change to phase 2, in which he will summon Astaroths, which give him an invincibility shield. While this shield is up, you will not be able to damage the boss until you kill the Astaroths. But it should be noted, if the Astaroths despawn, the boss will still have his shield, and that's no good. If you ever find that the Astaroths are hard to get to or completely blocked by the boss, you'll have to either rotate around the entire arena or just around the boss to be able to kill them. Once you do, you'll have a decent window of time to damage the boss before they spawn again. Finally, on phase 3, the boss will start spawning Grells and Astaroths. Except this time the Astaroths don't give him a shield, they start to heal the boss. This heal doesn't really matter as it's so minimal, but the amount of mobs in this phase can be pretty overwhelming if you don't take care of them quick. In any case, it shouldn't be too hard as the boss will already almost be dead when it enters this phase. Once you end up killing the boss, it'll drop the items as shown. The most important ones in here being the skulls so that you can fight the final boss. If you go into this fight normally, I would recommend at least Protection 4 armor as the boss hits pretty hard, a Broken Heart Bauble, or Strength and Vitality 5 and lots of Vampire Life Stealing and Leeching, and weapons that hit the damage cap for the boss. A full set of Undying Baubles also helps quite a bit, but specifically the Broken Heart will be insanely useful. If you have more than this, then I would say that you're probably over-prepared and this boss fight should be super easy. The low percent method is a bit harder. You'll probably want to be using the same bow you used on Rahovar, and as soon as the fight starts, make sure you run and hide behind one of the north, east, south, or west center pillars. It's also extremely important that you drink an invisibility potion and also have a high sneak stat, as with these two combined, when you crouch, a trite might just walk straight through you. Optionally, you can wear full leather armor with protection 4, just for the added protection and safety. You could bring in diamond arrows and or an archery potion just to hit the damage cap. And lastly, as mentioned previously, a flying mount or a potion of flight. When attempting this method, make sure that you never peek out from behind the pillar because the boss hits super hard. And also, don't be afraid to kill the mobs that spawn, as they will just keep on stacking for seemingly forever. Asmodeus will occasionally send minions your direction, so you will have to kill them sometimes unless you want to risk them standing on top of you and seeing you. Additionally, while you fight the boss this way, watch for epions, as they will occasionally spawn in the air and they can see you through invisibility. If you want the added layer of protection and safety, you can also go into the nether and find a respawner statue, put it in the end, right click it with glowstone, and you can now use a recall potion to teleport back to wherever you placed it. This is super useful as it allows you to teleport mid damage even in another dimension. However, be warned, if the boss does have his invincibility shield up when you do this, and you go out of the chunk, it's likely that the minions will despawn and the boss will be invincible permanently, which just means you need to summon a new boss. If you do manage to take the boss out this way, go celebrate and eat some ice cream. Unless you're lactose intolerant, then just go eat some mayonnaise and act like it's ice cream. That about covers everything I wanted to cover in this video, so if you liked it, feel free to leave a like. And if you really liked it, feel free to leave a really like. We've only got one more, boys, but oh, he's a big one.